Okay, so these are exercises on the passive voice of the simple past. And when I have the simple past, this is the formula to make it passive. So let's do the first one. It says she sang a song. So a song is my object. So I have to make it my new subject. The song was sung by her. The next one, me, becomes I. I was hit by somebody. Number three, we stopped the bus. The bus is my subject, is my object, so it becomes my new subject. The bus was stopped by us. A thief stole my car. My car. Car was stolen by a thief. Next one, they didn't let him go. So this one seems a little bit tricky, but look, this is my object, right? It comes after the verb let. He wasn't let go by them. So let go, right? It's a phrasal verb, so it has to occur together. She didn't win the prize. The prize wasn't won by her. They didn't make their beds. Their beds weren't made by them. Or their bed were not made by them. Both of them are correct. So don't get stuck just because there's didn't here, right? That you don't put didn't in the new sentence. Just delete it. The next one. I did not tell them. They were not told by me. Did you tell them? So what's my object here? Them, right? Because that's what comes after my verb. They, I'm sorry. Were they told by you? So it looks very similar, except the were goes to the beginning of the sentence because it becomes a question. Did he send the letter? Was the letter sent by him? Okay. Now let's do the past progressive. So the past progressive takes these two forms. Was being in the past participle or were being in the past participle. So number one, we were talking about Francis. Francis was being talked about by us. So again, talking about is a phrasal verb. So make sure that you have it together in the new sentence. He was playing the guitar. The guitar was being played by him. She was watching a film. A film was being watched by her. Okay? It's easy, right? I was repairing their bikes. Their bikes were being repaired by me. And then number five, they were not eating dinner. Dinner was not being eaten by them. So make sure not goes between was and being. We were not painting the gate. The gate was not being painted by us. You were not driving him home. Okay, this one is tricky. But again, just focus on the noun that comes right after my verb, which is him. Okay, so he was not being driven home by you. All right? So make sure that you check your answer and that you have the correct sentence for this one. He was not feeding the dogs. The dogs were not being fed by him. Number 9, was he reading these lines? So you can see I've bolded my object. Were the lines being read by her? So make sure that you check again your verb, because here I'm talking about, I use were, right? Because I'm talking about lines. Lines is plural. So I have to make sure that I'm using the correct verb form. Were they carrying bags? So again, my object, right, comes after my verb. So in this case, bags. Were bags being carried by them? Okay, so that's it for the passive. So let's move on to the conditional homework. There's not that much. For this exercise, you have to focus on the second conditional, which takes this form. If and the past simple, and then the second clause takes would and the verb. So this is an example. If I went to the cinema, I would watch an interesting film. The only thing that you have to remember with this one that's a little bit different is anytime I have something like this, anytime I have the be form of the verb, it's always going to be were. So if I were, if she were, if they were. Okay, so that's the only tricky part. I know it seems a little bit confusing to say I were, but remember for the second conditional, all of the persons take were. That's just the rule. So let's do A here. If they had enough money, they would buy a new car. Right? I'm just following this form. If he, remember what I said? I have the be form of the verb here, so I have to say were. If he were my friend, I would invite him. C, the Smiths would go on holiday if they had time. If Susan had learned, I'm sorry, if Susan, sorry about that, if Susan learned more, she would be better at school. We would call the police if we saw a burglar. If the pupils had no school, they would play football. If I came home early, my father wouldn't be angry. If I, okay, so again, I have the be verb, so make sure that you're paying attention. I have if in the clause, and so that means I have to say if I were you, I would not go to the party.